Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. Today is Wednesday, November the 6th, 2024. For you, it is Tuesday evening, 2024. For us, keep that in mind moving forward with any day, today's, tomorrow's, or yesterday's. We've been known to slip up a time or two, but we'll do our best to keep it present, or actually future. We'll try to act like we're on Wednesday time. Got a fantastic show for you tonight. We got recruiting questions from the corner. We've got some hibachis to dish out, and we're going to get to it all right here, right now with the stars of the show, Mr. Cole Pinkston, Mr. Allen Head. How about you, fellas?
How about you?
How about you, everybody?
How about you, B-Down?
I believe the star of the show is Mr. Zach in the back.
Acting in the back, absolutely.
That'd be my pick.
Absolutely.
Yes, the private chat is still undefeated. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
No doubt.
The intel and the quips that the folks at home don't get from the private chat with Zach in the back is erroneous. All right, we're going to get to all our questions from the corner first, man. I want to welcome back HelloFresh. HelloFresh, big dog sponsoring the show tonight again. We appreciate HelloFresh for their loyalty and patronage. If you're not familiar with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip the trips to the grocery store, folks. I know I do. And count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Whether you're craving hearty comfort food, trying to please picky eaters, I don't know about that, or looking for a calorie-smart meal plan, HelloFresh has all the options and more available on a rotating menu at 50 recipes to choose from every week. Easily customized recipes, so each meal is just the way you like it. There are always options available to trade or upgrade proteins or swap out the side dishes, man. I know we've put away a couple, actually several here lately. One pot chicken sausage bean soup. And let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. If you can see, they give you all the ingredients, and then they give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it. It's fantastic. One pan turkey stir-fry tacos. One pot Mexicali black bean soup. Fantastic stuff. Love HelloFresh, and they've got a fantastic deal. We've heard them, give away or have promotions for desserts and this and that and sides and stuff. Dude, listen to this, man. They are use their promo code Auburn Live. Free Auburn Live. Get 10 free meals, son, at HelloFresh.com/free Auburn Live. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's 10 free meals, HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/free Auburn Live. All you newbies will get 10 free meals. HelloFresh. Appreciate them sponsoring the show. Love me some HelloFresh. I think Cole does too. Hell, I think Alan and Zach in the back. Everybody's gotten their fingers dirty with HelloFresh.
I'm a fan. Absolutely a fan.
Huge fan.
All right, let's get to some recruiting questions from the corner. Let's see, anything going on this week? Yeah, this past weekend had several visitors come in. Let's see, Jerry Curtis has a couple of 5 stars. Some folks, St. Francis crew was unable to make it, so Zion Ely wasn't there, but Nick Brooks made a surprise visit, and several top 2026 guys that we had stories on Auburn Live on 3. All right, Red Mock is Carday Smith, who is committed to USC now. I think he visited Colorado here recently. He was the former Auburn commitment. Worth circling back to since we seem to have missed on a few top-ranked guys. Does anybody say yes?
Whether he is or not, I don't think Auburn's going to.
It's not happening.
We'll see, but I mean, you never know. But
right,
I say no right now. I would say no. Nothing against Carday. I think he's a good player.
Yeah,
I think he's got a bright future, a lot of potential, big ceiling, all that. But the way it went down, and not that it went down in any bad way, just that it happened kind of out of nowhere. It seems like that ship has probably sailed.
Alan,
I would agree with that. I mean, I hate to use this word, but it almost felt like initially when the decommitment happened, there was a little bit of a leveraging that was going on there. And I think Auburn is not necessarily interested in being a part of that. Is he worth it from just a pure talent standpoint? I think he's a good player. In my opinion, he would be somebody that I would absolutely kick the tires on again, probably if I'm just looking at it from a talent perspective. But when you put all of those things, together, it just it doesn't feel like And I think you coined it perfectly. It doesn't feel like that's the direction that things are going to happen.
Maybe not a great fit. At least it wasn't. There's a reason he decommitted. Let's put it that way. And there's a reason Auburn didn't put up much of a fight to keep him. So he's committed to USC. I think he visited Colorado. That might be a school to watch for him. But at this point, I'm like you guys. I do not see circling back. At least right now, like Cole said, nothing's definitive. But right now, I would say the odds are extremely low.
Yeah.
AU Brian 98. The recent commitments to other teams by some of our big targets, including Carter, 2026 guys. He's asked, I'm sorry, let me finish the question. The recent commitments to other teams by some of our big targets, 2026 targets, are a little worrisome. Do you think the bad record is going to hurt that class more than this one? The 2026 class. I'm trying to think. Wasn't Jordan Carter committed?
Yeah, Jordan Carter.
Tiller.
Vodney Cleveland to Bama.
Yeah.
Tiller to
A&M.
A&M. So, some top targets have come off the board, no doubt, Brian.
Yep.
Do you think the bad record this year is going to hurt the class more next year? I think that's a valid question.
I do.
Yeah.
I honestly do. And largely because I think they've done a really great job with being very clear and transparent with this class as far as how they're building things. And you're seeing kind of proof that they're willing to play young guys and let them play through mistakes. Like they are everything they said they're going to be. And whereas in years past, I would have told you that Auburn's present record would affect the current class, the player compensation piece has played a bigger part in this than I would have ever thought possible, right? Like even though Auburn, the record, the 4 and whatever is, or excuse me, 3 and whatever is, it makes you look shaky. I think because the fact that players are compensated now, that they have contracts, they have availability to accrue money, it's made that less of a big deal than it would have in the past. So, yeah, I do think that the way Auburn looks in the future, though, is going to hinder them. I think there's a lot of negative recruiting that's going to happen about Hugh Freeze's hot seat moving into 26 if you only walk away with 4 wins this year.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Alan. And y'all heard me. You've heard me say the leave Freeze alone thing. I know you've heard me say that, and the reason I said that is because you don't want a black cloud over you this early, right? You got a good class. You want to keep that together. Future's still bright. You know what? Say whatever you want. I don't care. They don't care either. Say whatever you want. I don't care. Say whatever you want. They don't care. Hey, I'm not calling anybody out, but it's kind of like, what can you do for me? That's a big deal in recruiting now. I mean, a huge deal. You coined that perfectly.
Alan. I think the next season will be much more important for Auburn. Like this year, it doesn't matter. Obviously, Auburn's got 3 wins. They've got the number 5 class in the country, and no signs of slowing down. So, I think next year, however, is a different story. Well, I really do.
Next year, you get into all this, then you've got the dark cloud, and that's you can't recruit with it. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Look at Florida. Look at Florida State. They've lost a lot.
Sure.
Because you're into year 3 then, and if it's not looking good then something's up.
All right.
Right now, I would agree with you. I think that Freeze and his staff really prepared them for potential losses like this. They're not as shocked as fans are probably.
Right.
Had higher expectations.
Evident.
Sorry.
No, keep going, Cole.
No, they understand the rebuild. They understand the process.
I was going to say evident by what they tell us every time they walk out the stadium on Saturday.
Yes. Yeah.
So good stuff, Brian. I think that was a really very valid question. Something certainly to track moving forward with the 2026 class. Space Otter, what offensive position and defensive position are the Tigers going to focus on the most in the remainder of the recruiting cycle?
Defensive tackle, or maybe defensive line in general. And then give me offensive line. I think they're searching for one more offensive tackle. I think lines of scrimmage.
I might go running back or receiver.
Okay.
I don't know, though. I almost feel like receiver might be done. That sounds crazy to say, but I almost think it might be.
Minus Eric Smith, I agree with you. I think.
Yeah,
me too.
Eric Smith, yeah.
High school wise, it feels done, right? And I assume that's what Space Otter's saying. If you were talking transfer portal.
Oh, no. I don't think so. Let's stay high school.
Yeah, staying high school, I'm going to go offensive line and defensive line. I think that's where the majority of the concentration is going to be.
Yeah.
-1 Naheem offered.
I was going to say I would put cornerback in there too with Shamar Arnaud too.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you're right. Very fair.
You've got two top. If you're looking at top targets left on the board overall, you're looking at defensive line. You've got Joseph Mbachu, Darion Smith. You've got Naeem Alford, Shamar Arnaud. And offensively, you've got the Malachi Goodman, Andrew Babalola, Saquon Miles to an extent.
Yeah.
Nick Brooks. So you're looking at the big dogs up front on both sides, and then you throw in a couple of cornerbacks overall targets remaining. And you get as many as them and then call it a day.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Night Rider. What's the latest on Tyler Atkinson and our chances with him? Tyler Atkinson, for those who don't follow it as closely as some of us do, it's the number 10 overall recruit. I'm going to share my page, Zach, if you're handy, just to share screen, just to give them an idea who he is. He's a big dog. He is the number 10 overall recruit in the country in 2026. He's the number 1 linebacker. He's at Grayson. Auburn has had several guys on campus from Grayson, including this past weekend. Nick Brooks being one of them. Cole, what was there were a couple of more defensive linemen. I think Cameron Mbachu was there. That's right.
For OV. Yeah.
A lot of connections there with Kenyatta Watson to that school. His son goes there as well. Kenyatta goes to every single game of Grayson. So a lot of connections there, personal connections. But the latest on him, I really haven't heard anything since early in the season as far as Auburn is concerned.
I was going to say the early intel I was getting on him was that it was going to be pretty even with Auburn and Georgia all the way down the stretch. The latest intel I've gotten is that Georgia's got more of an edge right now. Yeah. I mean, I would always default to Georgia for these guys.
Yeah, me too.
Even with all the connections, and Auburn's got connections with that now. But yeah, I default to Georgia with him. But it's close. I mean, it's close. Trust me, Auburn's in this one.
I would, Georgia 1, Auburn 2. And listen, I think Allen's the same way here. I'll probably be that way until it's not.
Very much so.
Yep. Ranger 361, will next year's starting offensive tackles come from the portal? Good question.
Yeah, at least one.
You got me. I was about to say at least one, Cole. I'm not quite sure if they won't try to. Maybe one of them will be a junior college guy. Maybe it'll be pure portal, but at least one transfer portal offensive tackle will be starter next year.
I'm trying to think. The on roster options would be Tyler Johnson.
Yes. Seth Wilfred, maybe.
Oh yeah, Seth. Is the Muskrat kid? Is he a tackle or is he a guard?
He plays tackle, but
he does. Favor Edwin. You got Favor Edwin.
There you go.
Yep. And then you got your freshman in this incoming class. So Brody Scholl.
Yeah.
TJ Dice.
TJ Dice.
We'll see what happens with Dylan Wade. We'll see what happens there. And then that's
how many years does he have left?
He's got one.
Wow. I feel like he'll be 3 years at Auburn now.
So, is that the class that's like got that leftover COVID year? Basically,
is it?
It is. He was a 2020 kid. And so anybody that played in the year of 2020 gets a year regardless of what happened. Whether you redshirted or not, you get an additional year. So he was at Tulsa for 2. He'd be at Auburn. Well, no, he was at Tulsa for 3. He'd be at Auburn for 3. And I actually have heard a little bit of positive momentum there as far as his retention in Auburn. And I wouldn't have thought that this time last year. I would have thought, surefire, if you keep him for one more year, he's going to turn pro. But I do think that him and Jeremiah Wright, those are 2 interesting pieces for me. I'm going to see what happens with both of those guys, but I think there is some positive feeling there that they could be retained moving forward into the next season.
Be something definitely to keep an eye on in the offseason. Good storyline there. Yep. Fish, 2004. Are we done at linebacker in the 2025 class? Auburn has commitments from Elisha Melendez, J. Falk, and really isn't pursuing, at least publicly that we know of, anyone else. They kicked the tires on Anthony Crua, who came for a couple of weeks ago. He's since committed to Georgia. So I think so, as far as I know. I mean, you've got Charles Diaz. Let's don't forget about him. I mean, not Charles. Bryce. Charles Diaz is no kin to Bryce Diaz.
Well, and you're right about Bryce, and I'm huge on him. I think his upside is
Me too.
through the roof.
Me
But
too.
don't forget about Eric Winters. I know he's being recruited presently as a safety, but he's the kind of body that's going to grow into a linebacker, in my opinion. So those are two guys to me that give you some flexibility within this class because maybe they're not linebackers today, but in a year from now, I think they could be. And so there's some growth and development there that could transpire. And you may not necessarily have to reach on a linebacker you don't like. And otherwise, transfer portal. I think they will take one from the portal, but as far as high school goes, you've got 3 to 4 linebackers in this class.
I think linebackers, the position group we're not talking about enough. They have killed it there. I mean, you got, if you're counting, you're not counting Eric Winters in there right now, but like you said, you could almost count him as an adjunct almost. But Elijah Melendez, JJ Falk, and Bryce Diaz. That's pretty nice.
That's pretty solid.
That's very solid. And again, JJ's another person. I think his body's going to carry him to the outside. He's going to be playing buck maybe in the next year or so. But I mean, just outstanding athletes in this class. They really are, man.
Holden Afert. Based on
That's a good name.
Holden Afert. Based on Auburn's current record, in y'all's opinion, what is keeping this highly ranked class together? It's a legitimate question. Auburn is 3-6. They have looked. They've been close. I'm sick of that narrative, though, but I'm sure fans are too. But Alan, do you think that's got something to do with it?
I do, in the sense that Auburn has been honest with these kids. They told them at the beginning of the season and when they recruited them, if you're the best player, you're going to play. And if you look at the defense and even at the offense, they have not been scared to put freshmen or sophomores on the field if you're the best player. And so it's proof of concept, but in a different way, right? Because they're being honest and transparent with these kids. And so I think that's held it together. I also think that, again, NIL, it's showing right now that player compensation is a real thing. And so wins and losses don't necessarily dictate what teams players commit to now. You see it in the NFL, right? NFL free agents sign with losing teams all the time because they're being paid to do it, right? Yep. So it's a little bit of a different deal than when you were a college kid and maybe you were getting that shoebox full of money underneath the table and you needed that brand, to commit to or that winning program. Whereas now, you're on a multi-year contract in some situations. So
Great point.
It's not the same situation that it was 5 years ago when, I think most people would have had that same thought process. 3-6, that recruiting class is trash, right? There's nothing holding it together.
Yeah. What's the incentive of going to a shitty program back then?
None.
Yeah. There was none. Good stuff.
There's a word that keeps getting tossed around by several guys. And it's vision. That's the word.
Hope. Yep.
So, I mean, they told them before the season that no doubt, I can tell just by talking to these guys, they said, look, we're going to have some issues. We're going to have some issues. You hang with us. It's going to be great when y'all get here. The guys that we just brought in are fixing to be stars for us. Not in the future, right now. You watch Caleb Harris, Malik Block, all the guys. They're going to play, and they're going to play major roles. And that's going to be you in the next class, and then we're going to be winning when y'all get there, because you'll put it all together at that point, pretty much. I mean, you're still missing probably a couple of holes, but you're much better off than you are right now, probably.
Oh, for sure.
Ski Tiger, speaking of Caleb Harris, who is most likely to be next year's version of Caleb Harris? And I'm guessing it's like who in this class will be next year's true freshman that nobody thought would be playing among the true freshmen, and this kid's starting and playing an integral part of this badass defense that Auburn has put together. And I'm going to tell you, you're right. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know where. I love Bryce Diaz, man.
He came to mind first. The reason you've got Eugene Asante playing a very specified role right now, and the dime backer is what DJ Durkin calls it. I asked Bryce Diaz, what's the position that DJ Durkin tells you you're going to play? He goes, dime backer. There you go. That's a fill-in right there, right? I mean, this dime backer in this defense is a little different. It's a lot of blitzing. You see Eugene Asante blitzing a lot. That's what Bryce Diaz is good at. He's excellent at blitzing.
He's so good. He's so fast.
Give me Dante Core.
Mm.
I think he has had a better season than most would have expected. And he's got the kind of body that he can play in the SEC sooner rather than later. And we all know the depth issues at corner. Yeah. You're playing a freshman and a true sophomore right now, and they're almost getting every snap. So bringing somebody in with the kind of body that he's got, I believe he's going to be an early enrollee. In addition to that, if he hits when he comes in spring.
He's not.
Oh, is he not? Okay. Then I got that backwards. My apologies. Still going to go with Dante Core because of the position and because of the situation. I think you're further away from the ball. You can play earlier, sooner. And so I'm going to stick with him.
Okay. Don't forget about Mr. John Allen McGuire.
Oh, good one.
That's kind of a wild card pick there because he's a punter, but Oscar Chapman's going pro. He's about to go make some money in the pros for sure. So John Allen McGuire is a step in there, and he's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. AU Samurai, how locked in do you gentlemen think Deuce is with Auburn? Deuce Knight, how locked in? Well, he hasn't missed a home game since he committed. I don't know. He's only missed one home game all year anyways. But Caleb Cunningham and he have always had a close relationship. The last time we talked to Caleb Cunningham, he was visiting Auburn, and he said the only way Auburn's got a shot with me is if they get Deuce Knight. Well, they got Deuce Knight, and I haven't really heard much buzz since then. However, Caleb Cunningham now is being rumored to be listening very intently to Mr. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. They're both from Mississippi. So, how locked in do you think he is?
I'd give him a 8 out of 10 right now to Auburn.
80%?
I think he's pretty committed. Let's see what happens with him. I'm not predicting this by any means, but I think Ole Miss possibly might be a little desperate down the stretch to land a quarterback in the class, and so things could get a little bit more lucrative for one Mr. Deuce Knight. And if that happens, it'll be interesting to see what his response would be. But as of today, I like him to sign with Auburn. I think that he's pretty firmly committed, but you can't predict what's going to happen in the NIL era and who's going to offer what down the stretch. That's the head turn move will happen. And then the question is, what is Auburn's counter and how interested is Deuce Knight in that situation?
I'd bump it to a 9. That's where I'm at on it.
I'm probably at a 9 too. I'll maybe even split you 2 just to make y'all feel better. I'm right in there. I will say this, man. The school that worried me the most before he ever flipped was Ole Miss.
Right.
And so, I thought it was Auburn Ole Miss even when he was committed to Notre Dame. So I am tracking that. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I mean, I've got 1 out of 5 eyes looking over at Deuce and Ole Miss.
Sure.
I mean, if he shows up, then there'll be some validity to all that. If he continues to come back to Auburn, recruit for Auburn, I wish he would talk.
He's not a very vocal kid, is he? So it's hard to read him.
So it's hard, we see him all the time. We speak to him, but he is anti-talking.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, that's true.
He's the opposite of Naeem Offord. All right, let's see. I'll be 31-32, but a valid question, by the way, big dog. I'll be 31-32. Who are your primary targets at quarterback for the 2026 class, and what is the timeline for a commitment? We touched on this, I think, last week. We kind of went through the offers. We don't know at this point. You would like to say, all right, man, we know the top 3 guys right now. Auburn wants to get one of these guys, and they want to get it done soon. I can't say that.
No.
Well, I think it only affirms how hard they're about to go in the portal for a quarterback, right?
Yeah,
that's just my gut. I don't know. That's my gut feeling.
And I'm not. The idea of every other year of signing a high school quarterback has been thrown out. I don't mean thrown out the window. I'm talking about thrown out as under consideration.
It's kind of like when I was talking about the red shirt. It's a little outdated. That used to be a major thing. Now you got the portal. It's a little different. Yeah. There's a lot of shuffling going on. It's not necessarily the biggest priority. Now it helps hold your class together. It's a good piece for that, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's important. But do you have to have one like you used to? I don't think it's changing a lot.
Well,
I think Auburn would maybe like a Jarris Curtis or the kids from California, shoot for the moon here and maybe be really selective in who they're taking, not just some dude. And then if they don't get one of those stars after shooting for the moon, then you just ride it out.
I agree. And here's the other piece that's a little bit unknown right now. I think we've all seen how unsuccessful Auburn's been on offense this season, right?
Well,
So there's the potential that there could be some change on the offensive side of the ball. Does that change your board in 2026 for a quarterback if you bring in a different offensive coordinator? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not advocating for that to happen. I'm just saying that there's the potential for that. So what is true today could be very false tomorrow or December the 5th once you're beyond National Signing Day, right?
Yeah.
And as far as timeline for quarterbacks goes, up until 2 years ago, it was, like Cole has mentioned before, quarterbacks were like basketball recruits. They committed and they were done, son. It was very rare for them to flip. Now, in the past 18 months, these past two classes, including look at Deuce Knight, look at Bryce Underwood, look at several. Who's the kid? Keelan Russell from flipped to Alabama. A lot of quarterbacks have flipped. Hell, Jared Curtis just decommitted from Georgia.
Yes.
So the timeline as far as commitments goes, 2 years ago, it was get a quarterback committed early, Walker White in February, so he can help build that class. And I'm not saying that ideally that's your recipe. And it was, if you didn't do that early, these kids weren't flipping. Now it's changing.
Yeah. Big dogs walk late, right?
There you go.
I mean, we're sitting here talking about Deuce Knight flipping or how committed he is to Auburn. With 30 days remaining in the cycle. So, anyways, I think the timeline is less important now. But as far as commitment targets go, I really don't. I know Jared Curtis is up there, but other than that, I would go pull up the offers list for 2026 like we did a week or two ago, and just kind of go through there and see who's visited and who has it.
Right.
LA Whip. This is it. Cole's bonus question: do stars still matter?
Well, I have a good reason for putting that up on the board today.
Okay.
Or Tuesday. And it got some traction. I knew it would. It's kind of an interesting question right now because you're witnessing the opposite end of the spectrum from what you just witnessed with Brian Harsin as your head coach at Auburn.
Yeah.
You're getting the stars. Your roster is filled with stars and blue chips. Yet I see a lot of fire freeze and all that kind of stuff going on. So what exactly, I guess what I'm asking is what exactly are you looking for?
So not so much stars, but recruiting.
Well, what do you want? I know you want to win, but how do you want to get there exactly? I guess is my question. Because it used to be, 3-star. That's 3-star. That's not going to help us. You know what I mean? It's an interesting question. There's a lot of discussion to be had about it, and I think some people picked up on what I was getting at on that.
Mm-hmm.
Others didn't. But it's more of a question to everybody else. I'm just curious, what is it? How do you want to get there exactly?
I'll jump in here real quick. And I said this before. I love the strategy that Hugh Freeze has right now for Auburn, and that's building his program through the high school ranks. In the high school class, he's recruiting elite talent. He's stacking top 10, top 5 recruiting classes. That's how I want to see this. Now, that doesn't make up for some of the things that I've seen on the field, but the way that he's doing it right now, yes, to me, stars matter. I love seeing the elite high school talent. I love seeing Braden Joyner. Not that he was an elite high school. I think he was a 4-star.
He was a 4-star with one site for sure.
A kid who's worked his way up in the program. And that's what I like to see.
I think it's a marriage of the two, Cole, is what you're basically looking for. Because I'll be honest with you, this is going to sound like I'm taking a shot at the kid, and I'm not. If you actually go into the transfer portal last year and recruit a quarterback, are we even having this conversation right now? Or is everybody just over the moon because you've got a top 10 recruiting class again for the second year in a row and you're 6-3?
Sure. That's a fair question.
You know,
You see the discussion this question opens up now. That's why I had to do it. It's like, okay, some people might not like this, but there is a lot to be thought about here with the current situation, Auburn's, especially on the bye week. In between, you may win one of your last 3 games and finish with 4 wins. The talk is going to be so loud. The roar from the Auburn fan base is going to be ugly. So I wanted to ask the question. I want to see what's
so
on
you're
mind.
you're saying I thought you meant like rankings, stars, and even Zach was like, yeah, 1 through 250 really matter. But you're basically saying in general recruiting.
Yeah, well, stars. I'm talking about stars because I'm talking about.
Because I'm thinking you're saying, does Dante Core being a 3-star matter to you? Does Charles Diaz, do stars matter? That's what I thought you were asking.
Not as much. I'm more talking about when Brian Harsin was going downhill, right? What was the argument? Got to have more stars on this roster. The blue chip ratio is so off. We're going down in the blue chip ratio. This is why this program is not going anywhere. And now it's, well, we got the players, but it's only year 2. I mean, do you want to see that play out? It's kind of my question. Are you still on the side of letting that play out? Because it's happening the way you wanted it to when you had Harsin.
Sure. And I think it begs the bigger question is what player acquisition model do you want to utilize to build your team? Because you see a lot of different theories or strategies out there now. You look at what Colorado's done, where they've just basically sold out to the transfer portal. Right. And so I would tell you that stars didn't necessarily matter with the composition of that roster. I guess not in the traditional sense, not from the high school blue chip recruiting rankings.
Right.
You see Ole Miss do that. Vanderbilt put their team together very differently. You have a composition of nothing but 3 stars, but guys that have been coached and play in a very disciplined style, and in an era where talent is more spread out than it has ever been. Okay. Does that change how you put your roster together? Because I do believe that Vanderbilt has retained a significant amount of their talent, and they play better together cohesively than a lot of other teams do that have a higher talent ceiling. And you saw that against Auburn play out this past Saturday. So to me, it begs the question is, how do you think is the most successful way to put together a roster in the transfer portal player compensation era that we're in? And I think Hugh's doing it the right way. I do. I honestly believe that he does deserve 1 more year. And again, the biggest issue with his roster is quarterback, period. I'm not putting it all on Peyton Thorne because I do think there are other issues with the offensive operation than just quarterback. But the problem with Peyton is he's making good decisions now. At this point, I think he knows where to go with the football. The problem is Peyton's arm talent is very average, okay? Think about that wide open 9 route that he had to Cam Coleman with a step. And he throws that ball 9 yards inside and doesn't even give Cam an opportunity to make a play on it, right? That should have been outside shoulder, over the top, at a minimum back shoulder. And that's a massive gainer, and that flips the field in that situation. And Vanderbilt never gets an opportunity to capitalize because I think Auburn punted right there. They flipped the field on a punt return. So that play in and of itself shows you why they've been so hurt at times with the quarterback play this year. And again, Peyton's a great kid, fantastic leader, knows the offense. I think he's going to make a great coach when he chooses to do that. Okay. Again, guys, nobody is attacking his character. Fantastic kid. But I do think that he has limitations as a quarterback, and those limitations have limited the ceiling on this year's team as far as what they were capable of from a win production standpoint.
When I asked the question, I paged our guy 5-star. If y'all don't know 5-star on the corner, he only shows up when there's a stars discussion.
Of course.
He modeled his name after that, right? 5-star. And he has a strong belief, and he doesn't care about wins and losses. He doesn't care about yards. He doesn't care about anything but star blue chip ratio, but it has to be top 150 players in the country. His entire stance is that the rankings people put more emphasis into the top 150. Therefore, those guys are hitting more, if that makes sense. So I paged him, and his answer was fantastic on it. So he will get one of my how about yous. I will put it that way. It's interesting. He answered the question from his statistical and mathematical standpoint.
Yeah.
And made it more about, look, if you don't have at least whatever X amount of number of these top 150 players, it's not going to work. I don't care what happens. That's his argument. I'm not saying he's always right, but it's an interesting case that he makes.
And I think the case that he makes is he's talking about having the ability to win a national championship, not just putting together a winning season,
right?
But the collection of talent in its totality. There are only a certain number of teams, and you have to eclipse a number of, top 150 recruits industry-wide every year, year over year, to be able to put yourself in the position to win a national championship. And national championship should be the goal at Auburn. It shouldn't be to go 8-4. So long term, I like what he's saying.
And the interesting thing about it is it does equate to a team like Ole Miss, who went to the portal but got guys like Jackson Dart, who was probably a top 150 recruit, Walter Nolan, who was probably a top 150 recruit, right? So they actually followed that guideline, but did it from the portal. They still kept to that guideline, basically. So it's an interesting case study. If you haven't, you should go check that out on the corner. It was a big, I'm not going to say it was a pot stir, but it got things going. It got some discussion going, some good discussion. So I'm glad it made it to this show. I wanted to talk about it a little bit.
5-star. All right, speaking of how about you, let's get to some. I have 5.
I have 7, not including 5-star, so I guess 8.
Okay.
I have 2.
There's 7 and there's 2. All right. Why don't you get us started there, Cole?
All right. I put them in the chat for you.
All right. I like that.
All right. So 1K Casino had a great one-liner that owned me. Somebody said something about Miller Moss because Miller Moss got benched at USC. Y'all are aware of that, the starter?
I am.
All right. He said, well, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Maybe we get this guy in the portal. 1K Casino says, if he can't make it work in Riley's offensive system, he ain't going to make it work in Auburn's, brother. That's
Fair.
pretty good. JHEWDE. He's just a voice of reason. About that time. Another voice of reason. He believes firing Freeze would put Auburn in the basement for years and years. I don't necessarily disagree with him at this point, but I thought it was a good comment altogether. It had more to it, but it was good. Matt Huggins has just been all over the board, been really good lately. He's voice of reason as well. Got to give him one. Matt McT, if y'all ever played video games or if you ever played college football game, when you are losing and you need to get serious, you go from sitting in your seat to leaning over, right? He put that on something I was doing, talking about getting serious in the game, and he put that on there. I thought it was really good. So I'm the Birdman has been an amazing contributor to Auburn Live. Y'all just don't even know it. He is one of the reasons I have been able to get the film room going. Thank you to I'm the Birdman. Right. And then AU Allen 1. Encouraging message.
All right. I like it. Those are good, Cole.
Thank you.
I'll allow it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Alan Head, take us to it.
Also, like Cole, I've dropped mine in the chat. And I don't know how you say this first one. It's MHALB. Mahalib.
That's how I say it in my head anyway.
In the vein of my inner Jeffrey Lee here, where in-game posting produces some of the best bangers of the year, my man got a little loose after the Vanderbilt game and said, head coaching gigs at AU are just like recruiting in the portal. Things remain fluid and they're always subject to change. See the hot board 70%. And man, I had a good laugh at that one. And then with Harvey Specter in the thread, more stats the censors don't want you to see. Let's see where'd it go. Oh, come on. Unprofessional, Alan.
Y'all like that show, by the way? Suits.
Dude, I watched all of it except it got to the last season, and it wasn't on Netflix.
I think it is now. It might be now.
It is. So underneath the tweet from Josh Pate, where it says Auburn is 21st in total defense, better than Ole Miss, BYU, and Bama. They are also in the top 30 in total offense. Being in the top 50 in both these categories, but 88 in points per game is an insane metric. This is Josh Pate. Harvey Specter underneath that, he was single-handedly bringing down the analytics industry by himself.
That's all I have. Good.
That's good.
Oh, Harvey. All right, let's see here. I got it. How about you, the PGB Triple-Ot 2? He lost his password, man. Got figured out. Said he's been having the best time ever. Loving the site. How about you to be PGB Double-Ot 2? How about you to Hendo 74? One of our most loyal subscribers, members to the site. Love me some Hendo. He's a fantastic caller on the show. Would love to hear more from him, but he's working on Sunday nights sometimes. But he makes time for us when he can. Staying in that same vein, Smitty J, big time.
Yes,
fantastic personality, fantastic subscriber, member, poster, fantastic caller on the call-in show. Both of those guys, two of my favorites all time. Smitty J, Hendo 74. How about you to Phone?
He had a good week.
I think he did too.
He's been very prolific. I've seen him a lot.
Yeah, he's funny.
He is.
I can't remember what it was. He's talking about I'd be happy if it was winning a football game. I can't remember what it was.
Dude, I know what you're talking about, and I saw that. I was like,
I thought it was hilarious. And then how about you to Duke OT, which I think he's hit or miss. I don't know. Do I have a problem with Duke OT?
No,
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I can't remember. But he was I think it was in response to one of Cole's posts. I don't know if you were complaining about something. Duke OT said this could have been screamed at a cloud.
Oh, yes.
It wasn't. It was somebody else that in my post, though. I remember this.
Okay. I fell out of my chair.
It was good.
It was a good week, man, considering I think everybody's just kind of rolling with the punches at this point.
I agree.
I like the vibe. I like the vibe, man. It could be a lot more detrimental to business, but it's not. It's been great, man. I think people, a lot of voices of reason, and some great questions, some fair questions, some fair complaints. So, how about you to PGB Double-Ot 2, Smitty J, Hendo 74, Phone, Duke OT, 5-star, 1K Casino, JHEWDE, about that time in a minute. Matt Huggins, Matt _ Mac T, I'm the Birdman, AU Allen, Mihalb, and Harvey Specter. I'm going to have to go watch, see if I can find out a season. I think it's 8 or 9, maybe 7. I don't know. But fantastic questions tonight, believe it or not. I was really interested and proud of the questions, the different topics. Enjoyed it. One more time for HelloFresh. Get 10 free meals, folks, at HelloFresh. All you newbies out there, if you're not familiar with HelloFresh, go check them out. Go to HelloFresh.com/FreeAuburnLive. That is Free Auburn Live, all lowercase, one word. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers get 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/FreeAuburnLive. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this week. I will say this, man. I know I'm leaving Sunday. Alan, Auburn has a bye on Saturday. I'm leaving Sunday to go to Canada. Going to try to get me a whitetail.
Yes, sir.
And we'll be gone most of the next week. So I want everybody to realize that the call-in show is we're just going to wait and do it to the next week.
I think that was the consensus, but we can let it play by ear.
We're playing it by ear, but probably gonna.
How about let's say this? How about we're going to take this Sunday off?
Yes,
I'm going to be gone. You guys got stuff to do. Well, let's turn it off, and then we'll come back when the following week after the La Monroe game, and we'll catch everybody back up because, A lot to do. Y'all stay tuned to Auburn Live on 3. Basketball signing period is coming up next week. Auburn has a commitment from Simon Walker. I would expect them to add maybe 1 or 2 more at least before signing day on Wednesday. I'll have more on that at Auburn Live on 3. If you haven't signed up for Auburn Live on 3, go check us out. Use the promo code FRIEND, FRIEND, 50% off an annual subscription. And if the website's not your thing, go check out YouTube Plus, Auburn Live Plus on YouTube, $2.99 a month. Cannot beat it with just from Cole's stuff, man. Yeah, really good stuff. All right, that's going to do it, folks. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. For Cole Pinkston, for Alan Head, for Zach in the back who stayed in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay at that damn left lane. See ya.